You are listening to KDVS 90.3 FM, Davis, California, streaming all over the world on kdvs.org. This is Twining Wines. I am Jay.
And I am Jeff. How's it going today, Jay?
Going great. Now, Twining Wines have a Gmail account. What is that? twiningwinesradio@gmail.com. And we also have a YouTube channel, the same name, Twining Wines Radio. So Twining Wines is been on air for 3 months now, yeah?
Yeah,
Jeff?
This is show number 13. Today is, December 20th. Friday,
20th,
December
yeah.
20th.
We started on September 27th, so it's 3
Yeah.
months. And Twining Wines is actually hosted by two friends, me, Jay, and Jeff, and we have totally different backgrounds.
Yes.
I was born and grew up in India, and Jeff is a Sacramentan. And we found one another in our profession. We both work at the same in IT. And also in yoga studios, meditation groups, and Buddhist practice circles. And we discuss in Twining Wines Buddhist-related philosophies, Buddhist practices, and also current events, mental and physical health and wellness, social issues, world history and arts and entertainment, music, and basic Buddhist everything, or Buddhist related everything.
Teachings, concepts, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, we draw these things from our personal experience and perspectives as yoga and Buddhist practitioners. And sometimes we have on-air guests too.
Yeah. We've had Dan of the Wednesday show. I've forgotten what he called. Come on, I know this.
Unpredictable something?
Something about unpredictable behavior. Oh, doggone it. There's no excuse for not remembering Dan O'Mite's show. And he was a great guest. That was a 90-minute show we had that day. And he talked about the... go ahead.
Cultivating emotional balance, that course that was
CDB,
created by Dalai Lama, His Holiness Dalai Lama, and Dr. Alan Wallace.
Yeah, that was a great show. I went back and listened to a lot of our old shows before this show. Some of our best stuff was some of the early stuff, in my very biased opinion. And we're going to kind of go back and do a little, if you will, quarter of in review, and basically touch on some of those basic Buddhist concepts that we've discussed over the past 12 shows, and want to just kind of maybe review, do a little summary.
So how do you summarize Buddhism in one line or three words?
Teaching of impermanence is my first thought. Teaching of impermanence.
That is the first thought that came. Yeah,
that came to
me. So that is one side of Buddhism, that philosophy and teaching. You said that teaching. And if you ask me the same question, the first thing that comes to my mind is wisdom and compassion.
Wisdom and compassion. That's good. I like that better. I'm going to change my answer to wisdom with compassion.
Yeah, wisdom is like our own growth, physical and mental and heart growth, and compassion is how do we manifest that in our interaction with the society and friends.
Right.
So one is not enough. We need to be compassionate.
I just had to tap Jay's mic because it's doing that thing again. Go ahead, talk.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, it's still doing it.
Okay.
Give it a smack. We have some bad mics here, guys.
Yeah. So you like the wisdom and compassion?
Wisdom. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
If you have to tell that in 3 words, what will you say?
What wisdom of
this is kind of a quiz now. Sorry.
Well, when you had started to discuss the heart practice and then compassion being the outward expression, I think that's a good point that we might want to just bring up again. That we hear a lot of hype about self-improvement, and nothing wrong with wanting to be the best self you can be. I think that's great and all. Higher, lower. Now we're having some help with Noel on our board and the mics. Thank you, Noel. And by the way, Noel, great show. We love your show. The circumstances.
Such an eclectic collection of music,
Well, but
if anybody is interested in world music eclectic collection, go back to Novel's show, which is right before our show. Go to the archives and see the collection. I'm always impressed by Noel's
Me
collection.
too.
Yeah.
He is very good, and the music is very, very good. But yeah, basically, yeah, self-improvement is a great thing and all, but self-improvement should have an outward result. I think we can improve ourselves, but what good is that if it sounds selfish to me? It's, worried about being the best self we could possibly be. And for me, what you had said, wisdom with compassion, or and compassion, is that that's what came to mind. Is that we learn these things, and then we want to, or I do at least, want to help others to suffer less. And I think that's another teaching of Buddhism, is the release from suffering, or the release. That's not really the word, is it? Freedom.
Freedom
From
yeah.
suffering. Yes.
Have you heard this saying? If it is helping others, it is helping you.
Yes.
And if it is helping you, it is helping others.
That part I have a harder time with, but I think that's true. If you
if it is really helping you, it will actually flow to others.
It should. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And if it is really helping others, you are also helping yourself. So in that way, wisdom and compassion are actually not really totally different things.
Right.
It is one thing we are looking at from two different sides.
Well, I've often said that to help others, you have to make sure you help yourself first. You can be the best you can be, so you can be the best for others. And then here I go and say, but focusing on oneself is selfish. I think if we're convinced that my life process is to become the best Jeff or the best Jay that I can possibly be, and you strictly focus on that, I do think you're not. You may want to explore being the best you can be with the helping of others, and let's just be very precise with an example here. Volunteerism is a wonderful way to become the better you. My experience in doing volunteer work, and by the way, this show is volunteer work. Jay and I come here. We do a lot of work in preparation. We love being here, and it is rewarding to us. And we're hoping that you guys are getting something out of it too.
Yeah.
I'm going to sketch something here in the book while you elaborate, Jay.
So, I asked you, what will you say in 3 words? If you have to say about Buddhism in 3 words, I'm going to answer that myself.
Okay.
But if you want to have something to say, go ahead.
No, please.
The 3 things will be Buddha, Dharma, Sangha.
The 3 treasures. How did that escape
That's
me?
a core. You initially went to the heart of Buddhism, that is impermanence.
Sure.
But this is like baby steps towards that. First is wisdom and compassion. We need to improve ourselves and outside too. How do we do that? By taking refuge. And where do you take refuge, or what do we bank on? We bank on 3 things. One is authentic teachers. Authentic teachers who have actually worked on it and have experiences and are lovingly willing to share that.
This is necessary. We can't do it on our own. We need a teacher. Yes.
And authentic teachings means recorded teachings. This is like the 2,000 years of history, 2,500 years of history.
2,578 is my understanding.
Yeah. And then the third one, equally important, authentic spiritual friends or Sangha.
Yes.
Those are the 3 things.
The Sangha, yes. So for those
like
of
we
you
are doing this show together, and I wouldn't have done this if you were not here, because I was not planning to do a radio show all by myself, and we went through that whole training session and selection, and then all this preparation for material, and it is like we are helping each other by
it's been a not only fun, but it's been a spiritual journey in many ways. But before we stray too far from the 3 treasures, because I don't know if we brought those up before.
No, we haven't. This is the first time.
This is a basic teaching.
We are intellectual. We just go and talk, theories.
And by the way, we've already used like 11 minutes, so we do have to pay attention. Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. These are the 3 treasures, the 3 refuges. These are the things we fall back on. We know that we have the Buddha always, and we know that we have the Dharma, the truth, and we know that we have the Sangha, the people, and we rely on that, or we take refuge or comfort in that. And we have I take refuge in the Buddha before all beings, entering deeply the merciful ocean. I may have got this mixed up.
Is
I
that
take
a chant? Is that a Zen chant?
Yeah, and there's a lot of chants on the three treasures, actually. There's the refuges in Pali. Buddham saranam gacchami. I love that. I love that. Pali, by the way, the ancient language that was spoken by the Buddha and his disciples, and must have morphed into another language at some point, or many other languages, but Pali being the ancient language. And we will chant, and you do too, right, Jay? In your tradition, you chant the refuges.
Oh yeah, I have
Pali?
chanted. I'm from my childhood. I was introduced into spiritual chanting and singing, and I'm trained in Indian devotional music, so it is very close to my heart.
Was there Pali in your childhood?
No, Pali, I was not exposed to Pali until I came.
You got involved with Buddhism.
Buddhism, yeah. But it is kind of a close cousin of Sanskrit. Pali is kind of a soft version of Buddhism.
Well,
of Sanskrit. Sorry.
Sanskrit, yeah.
So
the similarities are obvious. Sutta instead of sutra.
Yeah.
It's
Dhamma instead of dharma.
Yeah. So we were also talking earlier about the three truths. I don't know if we'll get into that today. It's up to you.
Oh, that is another three. Buddhism is all about list.
Lots
Two
of
of that, three of that, fours, and then what is five? Is there a five? I think there is 5 obstacles or something like that. There is a 5, and then there are 6 perfections.
There's the
7
5
qualities of enlightenment.
Right,
8.
Well, I've heard those lists are on purpose because it was an oral tradition, and it helped for memorization, and so that makes sense to me. You could remember 1 through 4, and then you always struggled with the 5th one. Eventually, you remember all 5, and you would always remember how many were in a list, and I think that would be helpful. It was the 5 remembrances is what I'm remembering, and basically what that is the reminder of impermanence is the 5 remembrances. We are of the nature.
Do you remember that
old,
now?
So
Do you remember the 5 remembrances?
So I'm going to start with the one I remember off the bat, and I might be in the middle of it, but it's we are of the nature to grow old. We are the nature of becoming sick, and we are the nature of dying.
Everything you have will be taken away.
We will be separated from everything that is dear to us.
That's the 4th one.
And the 5th one is the only thing we actually own are our actions.
Karma.
Folks, our actions. These are the things we're accountable for.
Yeah, that is the karma is the theory of cause and effect in Buddhism, in a philosophical mental theory. So that we should talk about karma in some.
Talk about samskara. You want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, that's what other
Excellent.
5 aggregates is another set of 5. The mental form, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. So this is called the 5 aggregates that. Aggregate of all these 5 actually is what we ignorantly think that we are that.
We have this form, this body,
but it is just an accumulation of different things.
And by the way, if you haven't noticed, it's very transitory. Everything's changing. Our bodies are changing. Our mindset is changing, and that's these 5 aggregates, these 5 skandhas are a reminder of the impermanence of all things, including ourselves. Which, if that wasn't obvious, I think it should be by now. If you're an adult and you're thinking about immortality, give it up. Go ahead and keep on going on while
do you know any immediately remember any set of 6?
Set of 6. We have 6 the paramitas.
Yes, 6 perfections.
Yes, perfections. Yes, 6 paramitas.
Generosity, ethics, patience, joyful effort, meditation, and wisdom.
And what are those in Sanskrit? Because
generosity is dana. Ethics is shila. Patience is
it Shanti? No.
I don't remember right now.
Yeah.
Joy is mudita.
Okay.
And samadhi and prajna. Wisdom is prajna.
Right. So even I had forgotten that so much. Everything I've known, I've forgotten. And
Buddhism is a debate tradition, right? In Buddhist monasteries, they have debates, and one of the format of Buddhist debate is like tell six of that. It is like one debater challenges the other. Do you know the six of that?
Have you seen this on the streets? Which country is it? Is it
Tibet.
Burma? Tibet. Okay,
Tibet,
where they
yeah.
challenge each other to these
Yeah.
intellectual duels. It's incredible to see.
Yeah.
It's
So
a way
this
of
is we are
expressing-
actually doing the minor version of debates. You know, this is how kids
Yeah.
train. You know,
hadn't thought of that. That's true. Yeah, in many ways. You know, and what Jay's alluding to is that there are a lot of faiths that you're supposed to take on faith.
mm-hmm.
Buddhism is not a faith.
No.
And we're not taking it on faith. Everything that is taught can be challenged, should be challenged perhaps, should be questioned, should be analyzed, should be turned over every which way. And when you have a teacher, the same thing. The relationship with the teacher is, and it's much the same, by the way, in the recovery programs. The sponsor helps the mentee, and the mentee helps the sponsor. And it's just
Actually,
Buddhism.
there is a story that about what Buddha told about faith. It is like he said, "Don't believe anything I say." This is his words. It is recorded by his nephew Ananda in Pali. That don't believe in anything I say by word. Test my words in 3 ways. Do you remember that?
I do. I don't remember what the 3
The
ways
way
were.
a goldsmith tests gold, and one is by rubbing,
Right.
one is by cutting,
Right.
and one is by burning.
Yes, these are the ways that we discover what things are, huh? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
almost like chemistry.
The 3 ways a
Mhm.
goldsmith tests is
Yeah.
cutting, rubbing,
Yeah.
and the way I look at it is rubbing means how does the teaching I received apply or help when I'm rubbing against the society, when I'm talking to you, or when I'm talking to my coworkers or family or friends. That is the rubbing.
And
Is
what I
it
got
still
from that
gold?
is- yes, exactly. What I got from this is it after you rub it, does it stay what it was? Yes, and that's what you just said.
And cutting is like logical analysis.
Right.
You cut and
Yeah.
see the structure.
Yeah.
And is it still gold all the way? Is
Right.
it still true?
Right.
And burning is like you have to practice.
Mhm.
You have to do your own walking, that contemplation and sitting meditation. You have to go through that heat.
And also an
And that
analogy
heat
or
cooks you.
yeah, a metaphor for burning off the delusive qualities of our existence. Yeah,
That's how this is my interpretation. I have.
I agree. That
yeah.
was just what I was about to say. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it is not a tradition of faith. It is a tradition of real, I think, scientific tradition. And His Holiness Dalai Lama says, if science, Western science or material science proves anything that is, proves any Buddhist doctrine as wrong, then Buddhism has to change.
And so far that hasn't happened that I'm aware of. And we've said before in this show how we find very little inconsistency with modern science and concepts and Buddhism. You and I are both fairly secular Buddhists. We're definitely, we work in a scientific field. You're an engineer. I have, all of my education has been scientific based. I have my degree in liberal arts, everyone. So, I was one of those, 70s students and 80s student, early 80s student who emphasized liberal arts because I didn't want to fixate on any one speciality. Jay, on the other hand, went to a technical school in India. Is that correct?
Yes,
A technical college. Where was that, if I may ask?
In south of India.
Okay. In Kerala?
Not in Kerala. I'm born and raised in Kerala, but I did my engineering in a neighboring state called Karnataka.
Okay. Karnataka. Is that where Arvind is from? Or I can't remember. No?
Yeah. He's from northern Karnataka.
I thought I remembered hearing that state's name before.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's as you just heard. I'm from Sacramento, and Jay's from southern India. What's amazing, though, is in our discussions, specifically about Buddhism, but especially about just everything in general, we really find a lot of common ground. I would assert that when you really get to know people, you realize how similar you. Let's face it, exactly the same you are. You just really have to get to know that person. So it calls
that
for
is
some
one
patience.
one thing. After migrating to United States, one thing I have, I'm so grateful is like I have the opportunity to interact and learn from people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And how similar we are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any other place in the world gives that opportunity.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think traveling is one of the best ways of opening your mind. And though I've done very little I notice that's said over and over again. Rick Steves has a traveling program he has had for decades now, and he's an interesting fellow. But one of the things he says over and over again is travel is the great equalizer. When you're traveling around and you're exposed to all different cultures and people and faith, you really come to find we're all wired the same. We all have the same basic drives and needs.
Hello.
Is your mic giving us grief again?
Yeah.
Sounds better. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds a little.
I cannot hear.
Oh, you can't? Oh,
What
I
is it?
can. I was going to give Jay a smack instead of the mic, and he punched me. He forced. We're going to have an intellectual debate here, but yeah, when we're talking about the three truths and in these other lists that we're talking about, some of the basic Buddhist concepts come back to what we had begun talking about. The fact that there is suffering, I think that is really hard for some people. I know it was for me to accept that life is essentially, it doesn't mean that it's all suffering. This is what I first got from it.
It's like a gravity. It has a propensity to drag you into suffering if you're not wise.
If you're not on top of it, and you're not paying attention. And even so, there will be things that will come up regardless of how put together you are. When you lose a close family member or a friend, or you get, maybe you have an
health
accident
problem,
health
divorce.
problem. Yes, divorce. Yes, all these things,
Losing
these
a pet.
life events. Yes,
Job, moving.
yeah. I mean, unless
I have moved over 10 times in my life.
Yeah, I mean, there are people, sociopaths, who don't necessarily have these emotional effects, but I have a feeling they still have karma, and it's just like everybody else. But yeah, what the Buddha taught was that our lack of acceptance, our ignorance of impermanence is causing us grief. It's causing us a lot of suffering because we're trying, and it does just mean we want to live forever, because most of us probably on first thought would say, yeah, I'd like to live forever. When you really think about it, maybe not. But this concept of impermanence also applies to everything. Even in
physical,
what's going
mental,
on. Yeah, this show right now, we're here now. We're on air. This is happening right now. But it's not going to last. It's going to be over at 5 o'clock.
It'll be over in 5 minutes.
In about 5 minutes, and 5 minutes and 14 seconds. But that's really hard to deal with. I will admit that. And then the concept of samsara, no self.
And also that it is only one side of impermanence. Impermanence is like everything will go. But that fact actually makes what we have now precious.
Absolutely.
And that is the flip side.
If things weren't impermanent, they wouldn't be precious.
will end in 5 minutes, but this 5 minutes is still there, and let's make full advantage of it, or enjoy it. That is another way of looking at it.
And I am enjoying it. But good point. Yeah.
It is in Tibetan tradition they say their first thing is impermanence, but immediately the second thing is preciousness of human birth.
Yes.
So how this human life, this human body and human mind complex that we have now, that we experience, as how precious it is. That is the field of suffering in one way, but if we are really mindful, we have the wisdom, we can make it the field of bliss.
Right. Well, we're reminded that we're humans, and pardon me, and that both in Buddhist and Hindu traditions there are the 6 realms. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And that means in transmigration, in that belief that you will come back after you die, meaning you'll have to repeat all of the suffering again, endless numbers of times. You might not come back as a human, so we're taught that you are advantaged right now in being a human being, a live human being, and don't waste time. And I've heard the analogy, Ehe Dogen has a saying, practice like your hair is on fire. And that means don't waste time, get to it, get yourself enlightened and do it now, because you might not be human next time around. And this is the only realm, human realm, where you can be released from the samsaric cycle of birth and death, right? I mean, you can't do that as a deva, you can't do that as asura, you can't do that as an animal.
We should talk about
hungry
that
ghost.
6 realms in one of our shows.
Absolutely. We don't have time now because we have about 3 minutes, but yeah, absolutely, the 6
It's
realms.
very interesting. It is. It's very interesting. There is a lot of different ways to interpret that.
Yeah.
Like in one day, you can go through all those realms.
I'm fascinated by the asuras, the warriors, right?
Jealousy.
These are characters that I unfortunately identify with, not so much as a warrior, but as somebody who's always kind of railing against things and struggling and wanting to, start an argument or something. And I am that way. There's no question. I feel like that being that asura who is always like, how many arms do they have? And there's like a sword or a weapon in each arm. And I could just I should make a painting of this or something. It would be cool. But also animals and or one possible rebirth or reincarnation and yeah, we'll definitely want to elaborate on this stuff. We have about 2 minutes, so we won't be able to. And Mr. Smiles is in the house, so he's going to be taking over in a little less than 2 minutes. Folks, this was show number 13 on December 20th. We know for a fact that the quarter has ended because when Jay and I got out of our vehicle and left the parking garage, the campus was empty. Yeah. So we hope that you students are enjoying your time off and making the most of it. Be safe, be healthy. Last thoughts, words, comments, Jay?
Yeah, we would like to offer our gratitude and reverence to the indigenous ancestors of this land that we call Davis and Sacramento, and present-day relations Nisenan, Miwok, Maidu, and Patwin people. We acknowledge their stewardships of these lands for generations before us, and we really uplift their legacies as they continue to build and sustain their cultures and practices.
Thank you for that, Jay. And we'll go ahead and sign off now. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember, you can write to us, questions, comments, concerns, hate mail, what have you. We'll take it all. twiningvines@gmail.com. Yes. And you can also find us on YouTube. Just, Google YouTube.
Twining Vines Radio.
Twining Vines Radio. And we'll be there. It's no video, just audio. So you can go back and
soon
listen.
We'll have a Facebook page.
Yeah, and we're working on that home studio. I tried to connect it last week, and Jay's going to come over and help me probably tomorrow. So we'll get that going, and then we'll be able to take some time off from time to time and see if we can get somebody to board watch for us when we're off. But I think we're down to the last 20 seconds, so I'll go ahead and sign off, everyone. Jay, you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, you too.
All right, thank you. We'll talk to you all soon. See you next week.